Okay, still with me. That's good. Right. Now we're on some really meaty stuff because we're looking at nesting if formulas. Remember, an if formula is made up of three things: a logical test, a value of true, and a value of false. So that means that you can only have two possible outcomes. Remember that tree from here, that logical tree, two possible outcomes. But the world is not made up of two possible outcomes. There are many situations where there can be more. And in that case, what we need to do is we need to nest if formulas. Okay? We need to nest an if formula within an if formula. Okay. This takes a bit of brain power to get your head around it, but we shouldn't struggle too much. Here's the structure of the formula. Okay, I'll talk you through it slowly. So equals if, fair enough. Brackets. Now brackets start to become quite important here. So here's our first logical test. Okay, then this is our value if that's true. So no change there. But then what happens after here, this is different because this says if it's true, well that's that. If it's false, well then if it's false, we're going to run another if formula. So that's an if formula within an if formula, nested in. So if it's true, it's that. If it's false, brackets, another logical test. If that's true, fine. But if that's false, then another logical test, and so on. Now, that means we can put as many if formulas into other if formulas as we want. And what we have to remember is that each one needs a bracket at the end. So you have this scenario where you have a whole bunch of brackets that come at the end. I just realized, by the way, that I've typed this in wrong. So just so you don't get confused, remember the dividing symbol between all of these is the semicolon, not the colon. Okay, not the comma, sorry. So yeah, make sure that you have that correct. Okay. So yeah, it's down here where all these brackets are. That's the that's where you need to be aware. So let's have a look at an example, and then you can give it a crack. Here's an example. It looks like that tree diagram. This is a logical tree diagram here, and this is an if formula that is going to write the name of the house depending on a little code that we put into a cell. In fact, we're going to put that into, well, a whole bunch of cells. For now, let's call it, let's pretend this value is in cell B2. Okay, so if B2 is equal to the text AP, okay, that stands for Apollo. So if B2 equals AP, then display the text Apollo. That's if that's true. If it's not, though, we need to test again. So if it's not, then if B2 equals AT, and that's actually the value if false, but it's also the first logical test of the second if formula. Is your brain hurting now? Okay? Yeah, if you have steam coming out of your ears, that's fine. That's the second logical test. Also the value if false from the first if formula. So the test is if it's equal to AT, and if it is, that's Athena, and we're finished. That's the true value. However, if it's not equal to AT, then we test again. Also, this is the value of false, but it's also the logical test of the third if formula in our nest. So, anybody going cross-eyed yet? Hopefully not. There it is. Test is B2 equals HM. If that's true, it's Hermes. And now there are only 4 houses, so if that's false, we're going to make an assumption here, not necessarily correctly, but we are going to make an assumption that that means that it must be Artemis. Okay, so we have our 4 positive outcomes, 4 true outcomes: Apollo, Athena, Hermes, and Artemis. Okay, that's a nested if formula. Now, your job in this exercise is to see if you can make that formula correctly and put it in here. And if you can, then there's some other little exercises down there for you. So you might need to review that video a couple